What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today marks the start of my Serra-Series, in which I talk about a bunch of movies directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, or Jaume Collet-Serra. Here's the thing, when I pronounce that name, I pronounce it one of those two ways. Either I do the Jaume Collet-Serra or the Jaume Collet-Serra, but it's not gonna change. It's like, I'm just gonna pronounce his name, and I might pronounce it several different ways, but you know who I'm talking about, this guy, Jaume Collet-Serra. And today, the film we are talking about by him is The Shallows, which is a film that I personally really love, and I do feel is extremely underrated. In fact, one of the reasons I started the series is because I feel that a lot of his movies are underrated, and so today we're going to be talking about The Shallows, which in my opinion, is his best movie. Its only competition, in my opinion, might be Nonstop, maybe Run All Night, but main competition would be Nonstop for me. So we're going to start talking about it now, and this isn't like a lot of my other videos where I have notes in front of me and things like that. As you can tell, this is a much different setup. This is just gonna be me talking about the movie, kind of a review. It's gonna be longer than a normal review, I think. I'm not sure as of right now. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but let's not waste your time any longer and let's start talking about The Shallows. So forever, Jaws has been the king of shark movies, and ever since Jaws, even the Jaws sequels just got progressively worse and worse, and we haven't had a good shark movie since Jaws. They're all like Sharknado and Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark and Sharktopus and things like that. Sand sharks, ice sharks, like, oh my, no, it wasn't ice sharks, it was avalanche sharks. Like, what the heck was that? And so in 2016, when The Shallows came out, you see that trailer and you're just like, oh my goodness, this actually looks like it might have some merit to it. Could it be that we are getting a good shark movie? It's coming from the same guy who directed Run All Night and Nonstop. Maybe this might be a good shark movie, or at least not a terrible one. And indeed it was. Most people agree, yeah, The Shallows, that was an enjoyable movie, but I actually think it is a genuinely great film. And just like right off the bat, I think I love the character of Nancy. I think she's a very compelling character. The fact that she, you know, like the whole backstory with her mother and how she died, like the whole reason she's at the beach, like, she kind of brought the situation on herself, and a flawed character is always a good character. The whole reason she's at this secluded beach is because of her mother's death, and she needed some time away, some time to get her head straight, and so that's what she was doing at the beach in the first place. Now, yes, they do recommend that you don't surf alone, but you gotta also understand the trauma that she was going through and the sadness she was feeling. While she did bring the situation on herself, you can't really blame her. It's not like she was planning to get attacked by a shark, it just happened. And because of that, you do care about her character throughout the movie, and by the end, you do need her to get out of this situation. You want her to get out of this so badly, because she didn't plan for that to happen, and with that backstory with her mother, and like how she died, and just the process of that, it was all very well realized. And it's funny that I talk about this in such detail, because most people who have problems with this movie, their problems aren't relating to the character of Nancy. A lot of them are just relating to some of the storytelling devices, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, really, but I gotta talk about this. It is a gorgeously shot movie. This is one of the best looking movies that I've ever seen. And I don't really like hyperbole, I don't like big grand quotes, but it is the truth. This movie looks gorgeous. They filmed this at Lord Howe Island, which is a real place that you can go to and has become a more popular tourist destination after this movie came out. The color grading, the setting, and obviously Blake Lively, everything looks really good. But something that they did with this movie that I thought was really smart was, as the film progresses, it gets increasingly more desaturated. It never loses its characteristic of being really well shot. It's well shot throughout the entire thing, but the colors are toned down quite a bit throughout the movie, as Nancy herself is, like, literally about to die. Like, she's just beat up by the finale of this movie, which is why the finale is so satisfying. Like, by the way, this is not analyzing it in chronological order. I just want to talk about everything I love about this movie. The finale, and yes, this is going to contain spoilers. There was a spoiler warning text at the beginning of the video, but I'm just gonna warn you again, just in case you missed that. I don't know how you would've, but back to the movie. The finale, when she's on the buoy, and she's just torn apart. She's bruised, she has jellyfish stings, her eyes are just like bags at this point. Her lips are extremely chapped, her skin is so dry, her hair's all stringy now, and she has like nothing left except a flare gun against a 25-foot great white shark. I mean, the odds of her surviving are very low, which is why it is so satisfying. And as I said, with the character development throughout the film and the struggles that she go through, it all justifies how satisfying it is when she climbs to the, like, when she's sitting there, just hearing the voices of her family members, and then the shark just comes and just, like, whacks the buoy. Like, it just swims by the buoy, just goes, like, and then it's so satisfying. I honestly just wanted to get up and just cheer when the shark hit that, and Nancy says, it was just so satisfying and just so awesome. You know that moment in Predator when the dude is like, I ain't got time to bleed? And it made you feel like, dude, this is like so awesome. I love this. That's like the same feeling I got when I was watching that moment in The Shallows, even more so even, and I will make that statement. And then like there's this great climactic battle. She climbs up on the buoy, she's like, where are you? She's holding the gun, and then she sees the shark coming. It's like swimming through the fluids of the whale, and it's coming toward her, and then she sees it, and the score just goes dun 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 dun, and it fades out. And she says something that I can't say, but it's really awesome. Unfortunately, I can't even show the clip, but this is a part that a lot of people had problems with. I personally, like, yeah, it's cheesy and it's a little over the top. Not what she says, but what the flare gun does to the shark. But here's the thing. It's plausible. And just to be clear, I'm going to show you the moment right here. Here's the moment I'm talking about. Yeah, the shark caught on fire. Now, here's the thing. It is completely logical that the water would catch on fire because the oils from the whale were flooding the water. So yeah, the flare would have set the water on fire. As far as this shark catching on fire, it has been proven that shark skin is flammable, but coming out of the water and the water still on it, obviously it wouldn't have caught on fire like that, but you can't deny that it is a really cool shot. And when it goes down, it still looks beautiful, still a very well shot film, and not to mention a very realistic looking shark. There's a shot early on in this movie, or maybe towards the middle, I'm not entirely certain, but it's when Nancy gets a hold of the thing and she's so relieved, and then she looks behind her when the timer on her watch is stopping because she was clocking the shark to see how long it takes it to like circle around its territory. We'll talk about the whole territoriality thing later, but the alarm goes off and she looks behind her. That shot of the shark jumping up with its mouth open, that looks so real, and a lot of people are going to be angry at me for saying this. That shot looks more realistic than any shot of the shark in Jaws. Yeah, I said it. Obviously, Jaws is a way better film than The Shallows, but the simple fact is, that shot, not the shark throughout the entire Shallows movie, but that singular shot looks better than any shot of the shark in Jaws. Jaws is such a great movie, but you gotta admit, that part when the shark in that movie jumps on the back of the boat and its head is, like, going... Like, it's obviously, like, sure, it looks real, but it doesn't move realistically. The way the shark moves in this movie is extremely realistic. And now here's the thing that a lot of people complained about. They're like, the shark would not stick around waiting for Nancy to get off the rock just so it could eat her. Sharks don't take things personally. But, I mean, did people forget that she was literally on the shark's feeding ground? It's similar to Jaws. No, obviously, the shark, like, no one makes the complaint about that movie of how the shark just waits around in the same area waiting for someone else to eat, because it doesn't do that. It staked a claim of territoriality along the coast, which is the exact same thing that the shark did in this movie with the dead whale. The whale was there, and it was its feeding ground, and when something disturbs a shark's feeding ground, it is going to attack the person or whatever thing it is. So that complaint really doesn't make any sense to me because it's basically the same thing that the shark did in the original Jaws. I guess people are just more scared to criticize Jaws. Also, it's not really a valid criticism because the movie justifies it. Even later when she's doing the video message on the GoPro and she says, "That's the problem, I swam right onto its feeding ground." Do people just forget about this stuff? I don't even know. Also, certain ways in which the shark attacks people, like the part where the surfer is swimming toward her and the shark attacks from below, jumps out of the water with the surfer in its mouth and then kind of curves back down under. That is how sharks actually attack. At least great white sharks, which is the type of shark depicted in this movie. That's how they attack seals. You can watch any episode of Shark Week to have that proven to you. The shark attacks from below so that the prey doesn't expect it, because if the fin is coming straight toward you, you have time to, like, react. But if it's coming from under, if the shark's coming from under, I mean, you have no time. Now, maybe in this situation it is a bit better because the water's a little clearer, but my point is the film's depiction of how a shark attacks and maneuvers is extremely accurate. It's also, like, surprisingly able to get some emotional punches in there, too. When she's recording the video and then she just starts crying and talking to her family and things, and like I said, with that moment at the end where she's sitting on the buoy, she's bleeding out, she has the sting, she's just so, like, ragged and just beaten up, and she's hearing the voices of her family members, hearing promises that she made to them, and then, like I said, that's why it's so satisfying when the shark hits it and she just goes, like, it's just... I love this movie so much, I don't understand why it's so underrated. And another thing people have a problem with is how Nancy kills the shark. Here's why it doesn't bother me. One, it's plausible. Like, here's the thing. If it's plausible, then I'm okay with it. Now, some people have been like, I don't think the shark would have fallen for that. Guys, sharks don't normally encounter giant metal rods spiking up from the ocean floor that are gonna impale them. That's not something they're used to. Plus, Nancy was right in front of the sharks, and it was focusing on her, so the shark wouldn't have seen the spikes anyway. Nancy knew that, and that's why she dove out of the way right when she got to them, so that the shark would do that. Plus, it's just original. Like in a ton of other shark movies, Deep Blue Sea and Jaws, and I'm in no way downgrading Jaws. I will downgrade Deep Blue Sea, obviously, even though I love that movie in a hilarious type way. In those movies, the sharks get killed the same. You blow them up. This movie did something original that I don't think anyone else would have come up with. Basically, what Nancy does is she uses the weight of a piece of the buoy to drag her down to the bottom, which a lot of people were like, why would you go to the bottom of the ocean? That's dumb. Guys, the movie is called The Shallows. The water is not that deep, okay? And she's just, like, going down because she knows there's the spikes up there of the piece of metal that's holding up the buoy. She's ingenuitive. She's smart. She doesn't, like, she can think for herself. She's not an idiot, as a lot of other people are in a lot of movies like this, but what she does, she uses the weight, drags her down, the shark's chasing her, and like I said, the shark can't see the spike, so even if it could determine, oh crap, I'm about to be impaled, it wouldn't see the spikes anyway because she's right in front of it. So she goes down, she dives out of the way right before she's about to get impaled, right as the shark is opening its mouth to bite her, and then bam, it gets pinned to the ocean floor, the spikes just go right through it, and a lot of people also have a problem with the size of the shark in the shot of where it shows Nancy and the shark like that. You realize that the great white in this movie is depicted as a 25-foot great white. The largest great white ever recorded, to my knowledge, was like 35 feet. That is a big shark. Like, that is a really big shark. You realize the Megalodon was recorded to be like 60 feet. Well, I mean, not recorded because obviously people weren't around at that time, but based on skeletal science and things like that, Megalodon's average size around 60 feet. And in our real world, we found a great white that was 35 feet long. Over half the size of a Megalodon. That is a big shark. And the shark in this movie is depicted as a 25-foot shark. That's what the CG artists determined. They made a 25-foot model, and that's what's used throughout the film. So it's not unrealistic at all. I think people just didn't, I don't know, like, I guess it was just the depiction of how big sharks really are compared to humans. Plus, Blake Lively is like 5'2" or something like that. Like, compared to, like, a person of that size, a 25-foot great white shark is going to look massive. And of course, no one complains about the size of the great white shark in Jaws, because people just don't want to criticize Jaws. Now, I love Jaws, and if I were to ever review it, I would give it an A+, but my point is, it's just, people are afraid to do that. People are more comfortable with criticizing The Shallows because we all know that no shark film is ever going to beat Jaws, and so it's really easy to look at any shark film that comes after Jaws and just tear it apart and not give credit where credit is often due. The film is also extremely suspenseful. It's like when she has to leave the rock, you're not thinking, you're so dumb, get back on the rock. You're just thinking, get back on the rock. You're not thinking she's dumb because you understand what she has to do. She's trying to survive. People will do crazy things if they are pushed hard enough. So that scene at night when she's getting into the water to get the piece of the surfboard and you see the fin, but even before you see the fin, the entire time you're just like, get back, don't. It's like, it's so suspenseful the way Jaume Collet-Serra is able to build that tension, and with the underwater shots of her foot and things like that showing the injury she has, just thinking, dude, like if the shark gets her, she's helpless. She's not fighting it off like she did when she initially got bit at the beginning of the film, which was also a very well done scene. She's going to die. And that just makes it all the more suspenseful, and that's why it was so brilliant of Jaume Collet-Serra to focus on how much the situation is beating her down, because it makes it more understandable. Well, not necessarily more understandable, but it makes the tension that much bigger when you know that if the shark gets her again, she's done. And that helps build really good suspense. There's also some genuinely terrifying imagery. At the beginning of the film, when the little boy, well, technically, the scene at the beginning of the film is a scene that actually plays out towards the end of the film, but at the beginning of the film, or at that point in the middle of the film, either way, at the beginning when it's like the GoPro footage and it's when the guy gets pulled under and you can see the POV and the shark just emerges from the darkness and just like consumes the entire screen, that is some frightening imagery there. And there's even some character added to the shark. Later when Nancy looks at the footage, she sees a hook, like a giant metal hook that's wedged in the side of the shark's face. Like in the side of its mouth a little bit. And you can see that this shark isn't only a hunter, it has also been on the other side. It has also been the hunted. Now, yes, sharks don't take things personally, but I just like that they added that little aspect there. It makes the shark kind of a character in a way, and a more, like, apparent antagonist, rather than just, oh, it's a dangerous animal. And as I said, there's some great emotion in here too. At the beginning of the film, before even the attack happens, when she's on the phone with her dad, well, first she's talking to her sister, and then she's on the phone with her dad, and he's just like, when are you coming back? Like I said, Nancy was in medical school, and her dad's like, just don't drop out. And which is another thing for her character. She's dropping out of medical school because the doctors were unable to keep her mother alive, so it's an understandable motivation. Plus, this beach that she is at is the same beach that her mother went to when she found out that she was pregnant with Nancy. It's like, people just forget these things when they walk out of this movie because the ending went a little bit over the top, a little too over the top for some, and then they forget all the little great character moments and character arcs and stuff that are in the film, and they forget about it, and then they just say, the ending was like too cheesy and too implausible for me, bad movie. A little bit of over-the-top moments and some cheesy moments doesn't make the thing bad. So yeah, overall I love The Shallows. I'm not going to give it a grade because like I said, this wasn't a review, it was just me talking about the movie, but I do want to talk about one more thing. At the end of the film when she's rescued and it fast forwards 1 year later and you see the scar on her leg from the initial bite and she's surfing again, that is a great arc. Like after all of that, she is still going back out on the waves, even after that traumatic experience, and teaching her sister to surf, which is a callback to a moment at the beginning of the film when Nancy was like, sis, you wouldn't believe the perfect tube I just got, and then her little sister is like, I could shoot tubes just as good as you if you would just take me out, and then, and then at the end of the film, showing Nancy finally doing that with her sister, it's such a good moment, and it's extremely well done in my opinion, very well written, and then, Sia's song, Bird Set Free, symbolically matches the themes of the film as a whole, and that was genius to use in that scene, in the background, and then using it in, the front foreground over the end credits. It really represents it, and it's a nice little tie. There's no questions left unanswered. It's just a very well-knitted film, and I love it much more than other people do. That was the final thing I wanted to talk about. Like I said, not going to give it a grade, because technically, I guess it could be considered a review. It's more just a discussion of the film. I didn't have any notes. All of this was off the top of my head, I promise you that. I love this movie. I'm sorry, I love it. I got the Blu-ray right there. And also, let me know what you guys think of this format. I'm not going to do all my videos in this format. I'm going to do all of my videos in the format that I normally do, which is, you know, in the corner and everything. But this is the format for my Serra-Series, because I wanted it to be a little more up close, you know, things like that. Plus, I just like having backgrounds out of focus. I think it looks really, really professional. Because I'm not professional at all, and whatever I can do to make my videos look professional, I'll take it. Don't judge me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It really does mean a lot. My next Serra-Series video will be on Non-Stop or The Commuter. One of those, Non-Stop or The Commuter. Not sure which one yet. I will see you in the next video, and until then, keep writing, keep shooting, and keep editing.